The barbershop, the black barbershop to be specific, one of the cornerstones in the experience of every black male growing up, from boyhood to adulthood. Yes, the barbershop is that important. It's a place where you learn things about wisdom, you get guidance, counseling, good advice, tips on how to cheat on your spouse and or girlfriend. These are the types of jewels that are placed in the crowns of young black kings from here to forth and everywhere all across the world. And today, I'm going to give you some tips on how to successfully navigate your way through the black barbershop experience. One of the most important things that you want to be aware of when it comes to going to the black barbershop is timing. If the barbershop works by appointments, make one. Don't make it today, make it yesterday. And if today is yesterday, make it the day before, because the point is you need to be beyond early. If they tell you walk-ins are welcome, walk in last week. Just like you have the DMV, there's a DMV in the barbershop too, and it's that many vagabonds waiting to get their hair cut in front of you. Fellas, women aren't the only ones who can be INDEPENDENT, and you do know what that means. So if you're an independent thinker, an independent guy, and you want to make your own damn schedule, walk-ins are for you. If you're a person whose schedule does not allow for you to be in the barbershop when the traffic is higher than normal or when the days are the most busy, then maybe you could go on a Tuesday or Wednesday. These are typically the slowest days in the barbershop and the best days for people who do decide to walk in because they just want to do what they want to do. Now, if you do decide to walk in on a Saturday or on a Friday, when most of the people who have fun things to do and friends are getting their hair cut, then what you want to do is tip your barber. Let them know, hey, I'm here and I don't have a lot of time, but you're good at what you do and I believe in you. Yeah, right. You tell them, look, I got a lot of stuff I got to do. I got somewhere to be. Here's the money plus some. Can you let me in the chair? And 9 times out of 10, you'll be there before it's your scheduled time. As with all other things in life, there's always another level, a luxurious version, reserved for people who have a certain amount of wealth, people who have hit the number, people who have just gotten a refund check, and maybe even worked a little overtime last week. I'm talking to you, house calls. That's right. We've talked about how much of a chore it is to wait, how much strategy it takes to successfully navigate your time, the barber's time, managing all those things. The hell with that. Pay your way through life if you can, and house calls from the barber are one of the ways that you can do that. You and your barber have to trust each other. He has to trust you to be there when you said you were going to be there, and you have to trust him to have a license. You have to trust him to be on time. You have to trust him to bring that little brush and his clippers into your sink and not on the floor. Speaking of on the floor in your house, the hair is supposed to get there as the barber is cutting yours, not when he arrives. Make sure your house is clean before the barber shows up. There's really only one way that I can tell this part of this story. It's going to require maturity on your behalf, because there's only one way that I can describe the marriage that exists between a client and their barber. And in this case, we're going to take it back to the beginning of the love story. Pause. I know this sounds crazy, but you got to stick with me because this is a very emotional bond and a connection that we can only describe this way. You first walk into the barber shop. You don't know who you're going to pick. So what do you lean on? You have no hope but chemistry. The way that your barber has that je ne sais quoi that lets you know that they have the finesse, the experience to cut your hair the right way. You look them in the eye. Yes, it's something you avoid doing on a regular basis, but today you need to come to an agreement. You need to see each other. So you look at your barber in the eye. If you don't have that twinkle, keep it moving. In most barbershops, they put the rookies in the front anyway, so maybe they're not even worth your time. You go into the middle of the barbershop, look around, see what you see. If the barber doesn't look at you or looks down, they're not for you. When you get to the back of that barbershop and that barber looks you in the eye, and you look them in the eye because you never felt like this before. But you know that there's some sort of connection, there's something talking to you that's telling you that he's the one. That's the barber that you're gonna pick. And that's just the beginning of the story. There are so many other things involved in making sure that you pick the right barber, like making sure you go with someone who is experienced. Yes, you want someone who's been cutting hair for a long time, Or maybe somebody who's new and up to date with the current trends is more your speed. Either way, experience is relevant to the process of selecting your barber. Also, once you pick that barber, you have to remember that this is a lifelong commitment. You guys are actually in a sort of relationship. I know, pause, maybe even stop. But the point is, this is a relationship that you're entering into. They'll know, much like your girlfriend, wife, or boyfriend, whatever. As long as you know, they'll know if you're cheating, just like your spouse or the person you're dating will. Now, after you've committed yourself to this barber, you have to then have respect for your barber. You may know how you want your hair cut. Maybe you know this is your time and you decide, you know what, I want T-by sideburns. And your barber might tell you, hey, that's not necessarily the best look for your face. This is where the respect factor comes in. Your barber is a professional, trained to be exact. So you may want to listen to what they have to say and take their opinion into your consideration when you're making choices. This here is my barber. His name is Wiz. That's why I picked him. Much like all of the critical relationships in your life, communication is key when it comes to having a great relationship with your barber. You need to be able to communicate effectively what you want out of your haircut experience. Now, in most barbershops, you'll find a chart on the wall that has numbers and then a picture attached of a certain type of style of haircut. That's not really for you. You're a grown man on your grown man shit. That's for kids, people who can't talk, and also when you're abroad. You want to make sure that you're sitting up straight. Be inspired by the gazelles that run free. Crane your neck out. Let your neck be one of the cranes in the sky that Solange was singing about. Your neck should be straight, pointed upward to the heavens, so that your barber can get the best angle at those chocolate chips underneath of your neck. It's critical that you be still, you be stoic, you should look like a statue, or even the ugly Lincoln Memorial. The point is that you should be standing still and not moving, like a tree planted by the water, except this time, it's your ass planted in a barber chair. You want to avoid eye contact with your barber at all costs. Even if he's on the phone, taking a call, on your time, saying things that may or may not apply to you, and you don't know what's going on, roll the dice. He ain't talking to you. You want to make sure that when your barber is placing this alcohol on your head, you are prepared for the fallout. And I mean literally, the fallout. You want to make sure that you remain unmoved and unfazed by the sting and the cold nature of that alcohol. Essentially, it's cleansing your palate. You always remember that it takes a lot of hard work to get clean. After a great haircut, now it's your turn to do your part. You ask the barber the price of the service, determine the appropriate tip amount, usually between 20 and 25%, and then add a little bit more if that is necessary. Dap up your barber, and then, my friends, you pull out your secret ingredient, the do-rag. That's it this time, you guys. Catch you next time on Grown Man Shit.